right. Well, good deal. I'm so happy that you're all here, and the whole idea here is to share with you this program that's been designed and developed specifically for female leaders. And as we're talking through this program, I'm going to talk to it from two different vantage points. Number one, we've worked with corporations where corporations create cohorts within their organization. And then we also work with women who are wanting to improve and develop themselves as an individual, an investment in themselves. And we create a cohort of individual corporate professional women as well. So we're going to be kind of talking both talk tracks and sharing those types, what the benefits are. So in the corporate environment, if you're on today and you're looking at this from a perspective of bringing this within your organization, one of the things that really is an emphasis about maximizing employee experience. I had worked with Disney, and I'll share a little bit more about that in a minute, but everything came back to taking care of our people. When we take care of our people will take care of the customer. So when we look at employee engagement, retention, talent attraction, productivity, overall job satisfaction, which, when you're doing talent, when you're doing recruiting and things like that, these are key elements, right? And what this boils down to in the why is it's really about helping professional women who feel stuck in whether it's personally or professionally, take control of their lives, prioritize what's most important, and make confident decisions to move their life and career in a positive direction. And I say in as fast as 30 days without wasting time, because when we get started, the impact is so fast. I mean, this is a program that is designed to be a 6-month program, really because of how busy we all are. We've found that, professional women have a lot going on, a lot of balls in the air. So the cadence that we looked at that really fits best is a 6-month cadence. And so while we're going through this program, and I'm going to be sharing the details here in a minute, there's some questions that I want you to ask yourself personally, and also just thinking about women in your organization. When thinking back to 1 year ago today, when you look back and you think about where you were on February 9th, 2023, are you where you want to be now? And if you're not, what's holding you back? And this is really not to be convicting in any way. It's really about just really thinking about intentionality in our lives. And so my second question for you to think about is, where do you want to be a year from now? When you look at life and you think about February 9th of 2025, where do I want to be? And what am I going to do different to get there? So have those things kind of running in your mind. And I just want to say too, that if you're here, it's not a coincidence. You're here for a reason. So something that we're going to say, we're going to talk about is going to resonate with you personally. And just know that it's not a coincidence. Something we're going to do is at the end, we're going to do a book giveaway. I wrote a book called Inspirational Mind Food, and I would love to share that. So whoever stays on till the end, we're going to have a random selection giveaway. So stay tuned. And what we're going to go through, just to kind of set the stage, we're going to go through a little bit about sharing my background just from a credibility standpoint, so you know a little bit about me. Talk about statistical data. Like, this is like education marketing. It's like thinking about or looking at all the data that talks about these types of programs and how women in the workplace, some of the things that are happening. We have data from Deloitte, Harvard, McKinsey. Like, there's so much information out there, and it's compelling, which I pared it down a lot because it's so much, but we'll look at that. And then we're going to dig into the program and look at the components and talk about that. We have a results report that I'm going to share with you that shows some live clients that have done this and what kind of results they've gotten. And then we're going to talk about next steps. Does that sound good for everybody? I see you over here. Thanks. Excellent. So real quick about my background, I've been in the workforce for 25 plus years. I've run, up to $80 million regions, had 300 people dotted line to me, managed multi-million dollar organizations in finance, office products, a lot of different things. Have been a student of personal development since I was like 22. Just really love all of that. I went through a certification program for coaching back about 10 years ago, actually 12 years ago now, because everybody would come to me and seek my advice on stuff. Like women would set their husbands. And so I've been doing this for many years, like kind of as a sidebar, as well as speaking. And I wrote a column in a magazine for 10 years. And my book is actually a compilation of a bunch of those articles. And so I ended up getting into leadership consulting with John Maxwell. If any of you know who he is, he's written a lot of books on leadership, been named one of the top leadership experts in the world by Inc., Forbes, Success Magazine. So I worked with him, working with organizations on intentional leadership structures, company culture strategies. And then I ended up getting hired by Disney in their advisory group. So I handled the Southeast region for Disney, where I worked with companies taking the Disney approach to culture, which included leadership, employee engagement, and quality service, helping companies apply that in their business. And then what happened is when the pandemic happened and all that, our division went from 400 to like 40. And at that time, it was devastating on one hand, but on the other hand, it had been on my heart for so many years to do what I'm doing now, but I had the golden handcuffs, and I felt like God had really just created this like perfect storm for me to do what I'm doing now, and I feel so thankful. And so I do speak in, as I mentioned, as an author. Couple fun facts, some fun facts about me. This on the far right, that is a picture of me getting my MBA. And that is where I did not go to undergrad. My parents divorced when I was supposed to go to college, and a lot of things happened. I didn't go. I got into the workforce and I did really well, and I got promotions and all sorts of stuff. But I didn't have a degree, and it really bothered me. So I researched how to get a degree without going to school for 20 years. And to make a very, very long story short, I was the first person accepted into the executive MBA at Georgia State. And now they let other people in that didn't go to undergrad. And that's a great story if you ever, want to hear that. This other one is where I went skydiving. I jumped out of a plane at 10,000 feet with a paratrooper. We free fell for 10,000 feet. And that was the coolest thing. And I think I'm going to do it again with my kids. The bottom left, this is really being vulnerable with you ladies. That's me coming out of Lake Lanier. I did a triathlon. And the reason I did it is because I didn't know how to swim. I grew up near Canada where we had horses and a pig and chickens, and I never swam, and I almost drowned when I was a kid. So I was always scared of drowning. And I decided to overcome my fear by doing a triathlon. I know, crazy. But you see, I'm the last person, second to last person out of the water, and it was horrible. It was scary, and I will never do another one of those. But I can say I did it. And then the top two pictures, in 2016 and 2017, our family sold our house, our cars, gave away most of our stuff. We bought an RV and we traveled America for a year. And I did that while I was working with John Maxwell, and our kids did the K-12 Georgia Cyber Academy. And this is the route that we did. We traveled while we traveled. And the reason I share all of that with you is not to boast about what I've done. The reason I share that is because I believe, if you can or you can't, you're right. I believe in big dreams. I believe that just about anything is possible. And so much of it comes back to what we think, what we believe we can do. And so my passion is to instill core belief in others. And so that's part of what my passion is with this program. And so now I'd like to share some stats with you. Again, this is from Deloitte, and this is just talking about specifically females leaving the workforce. And really a lot of this is due to this lack of work-life balance. However, I really want to shift things into a work-life integration mindset, because there is no such thing as balance, right? And our lives are different in different seasons. And so there's different things that we should be prioritizing in different seasons. And how can we integrate our work in our lives, our business lives? And that's really a crux of this program, is figuring out how do we create our best life within the parameters of the work-life integration mindset. And so this is some statistical data about coaching women in organizations. More than 70% of people who are coached see improvement in work performance, better relationships, more effective communication. It's really awesome and fun. And this is really key too for companies. However, investing in ourselves, I'm not sure if any of you are here thinking about investing in yourself, but employee retention, increased productivity, employee satisfaction, all of these things are so important. And the ROI that the executive briefing case study found through these Fortune 500 companies is a 529% ROI, which is massive. And so there's a lot more data around this. However, I think that gets the point across on why programs like this are really beneficial. So now I'm going to dig into the Create Your Best Life program at home and at work. And this is the overarching methodology. It's called the GROW method. And the GROW method is based on, it combines positive psychology and neuroscience techniques. And so quickly, I'll go through. The G stands for gratitude. And really, when I say gratitude, what I mean by that is intentional thinking. We have to protect our minds and our thoughts, because when what you think drives how you feel, which drives what you do or how you act, which ultimately drives the results in our lives. And so this is a very, very important component. The R stands for reflect and create. One of the things that I always talk about, when you look back on your life from the day you were born, and you think of the peaks and the valleys in your life and what the stories are around those things, there's so much evidence of who you are, because a lot of times as business women, professional women, wives, moms, all that, we lose who we are. One of the biggest compliments I received from a client was, she said, Christine, you helped me to remember who I am, because we can just get caught up in the rat race and forget who we are. So when we reflect on who we are, where we came from, there's evidence to help us create our future. The O is for optimize, and optimize is about optimizing our time, our strengths, our giftedness, ultimately our entire lives. How do we optimize so that we're living the life that at the end of the day, when we're laying on our deathbed, we have no regrets? And the W is for wealth and abundance. When we do all these things, we'll experience wealth and abundance spiritually, emotionally, professionally, relationally. And so the Create Your Best Life program falls underneath this overarching methodology. And these components we're going to dig into here in a second. And now when looking at creating this program, one of the things when I work with corporates is they want to, if a company has a competency model, we want it to be mapping these competencies within the program. So this is the competency mapping that is within the Create Your Best Life program. And you'll see this again at the end when we dig into the results report. And so this is where we start. When a client signs on, and we work with, like I said, cohort of corporates, and we work with individual women as cohorts. The first thing that we do is we call this the self-discovery wheel. And there's an assessment on the front end and the back end of the program. And we also do the self-discovery on the front end and the back end to measure results. This is all the different areas of our lives. Many times we're just going along in our lives, and when we don't think of it in terms of these different components. So I led a women's retreat last year, and one of the ladies, her aha for this, they'd had a lot of issues with her daughter, and it caused problems in their marriage, and like all this trickle effect. Her perception of 2022 was that it was a bust. It was terrible. But when we sat down and we looked at her life in all these different areas, she had this realization that so many things went great. Like this one piece diluted her perception of her life. And it's a really cool activity to sit down and say, well, what's going well and where do I want to improve? So this is like how we start off, like this first piece. And then we get into what we call phase one, which is intention. And intention is about stepping back, slowing down, and thinking about what you want in your life. What do you want and why? How do we diminish negative plaguing thoughts? We get clarity and intention on where we want to go and why. I mean, it's so fun because so many women that I work with, they've never stopped to do that. And there's so many ahas that they have. And this is helping too, like greater sense of purpose. Like, what am I doing? Why am I here? What do I want for my next step? If you're thinking about your career, like what are the next steps and how do I need to get there? And have clarity about those things. And then there's tools that help us flush those things out. So these tools here. The second phase is called elimination. And elimination is all about identifying the obstacles that are holding you back and setting up strategies to overcome those obstacles. What a lot of times we're saying yes to so many things, right? As achiever women, I'm sure you do this. People ask you to do something, you add it on, and you never take anything off your plate. And they're all great things. I'm sure they're all cool, awesome things. But how do we create a filter for making decisions so we get the best yes? And I think that's so important. Another thing in this section, we call it energy drains and energy gains. A lot of times there's so many things that are sucking your energy and you don't even realize it. So how can we get clarity on what are those things? How do we either eliminate, delegate, automate, and create a life? And I have a mantra that I say because I tell you what, there was a time in my life I literally thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown because I call it the superwoman complex, and I bet you all have this too. Everybody looks to you. You get it done. People, they say, oh, hey, Marsha, you kill it. You're going to can you do this? And Marsha's always going to do it, or Kim's always going to do it. It's like superwoman complex can kill you. And I had to change my ways. And that's part of the inspiration for me to work with other women, because it is possible to create a life where this is the mantra, I am present and my life runs at the perfect pace. I am present and my life runs at the perfect pace. And whenever I start to add too much or get overwhelmed, I go back to that and use that as a filter because, again, life is short. I don't know. I've had a lot of things happen, health scare, and you just have to reevaluate. And so being proactive is so important. And so the third thing is called attention. So it's kind of like when we get clarity of what we want and why, we identify the obstacles that are holding us back and we eliminate those things that are sucking our energy. And now we get clarity. I'll tell you what, it is the most incredible thing. Has anyone here heard of RAS, Reticular Activating System? For anyone who hasn't heard of that, it's a part of our brains that focus on what's important to us. Because we have so much stimulus coming in, we can't possibly pay attention to everything. So when you get clarity, all of a sudden people show up, opportunities show up. And a great concrete example of this is, has anyone here ever bought a car and you drive your car off the lot and all of a sudden you see your car everywhere? And you're like, I didn't know that everyone had a silver Lexus or whatever your car is. It's so crazy. And that's a great example. It's like they were always there. You just never noticed them. And so in our lives, when we get clarity on where we want to go and why, what you focus, there's that saying, energy flows where attention goes. It's really incredible what happens. And then finally, it's like a bonus section called Business Essentials. And this is more, so all of those different components are within our online piece. And then we have our one-on-one piece and group sessions. And I'll be sharing that here with you in a second. These Business Essentials programs, it's all, how to create a wow culture. That is really from my Disney days, kind of sharing the behind the scenes of, how to create a wow culture at home and at work. And time mastery, these are a little more like workshop-ish things that you can go through. So there's a quote that I love, and it says, time equals life. Waste your time, waste your life. Master your time, master your life. Is that awesome? I love that quote. And so again, that kind of ties into all of these things. Like, how do we really maximize our time? Communicating with clarity and impact. Awesome, awesome content. I'm sure you've had this happen, like I've seen in my career. Usually for one of two reasons, there's problems, right? Either lack of communication or miscommunication. If you have any issues with anything, if you go back and think about it, it's lack of communication or miscommunication. So that's powerful. Another one is called improving confidence in the workplace. That is a huge one. I'm a coach for a number of, like, I've been invited to do some different panels and things like that. And imposter syndrome. I mean, that's basically what that comes down to. That's the kind of the term that's used today. We all have it. And so it's like, how can we minimize that? How can we overcome that and have confidence and know that what you bring to the table? And then there's also resources library that provides a lot of information on different podcasts, books, different resources that are helpful with leading ourselves in order to lead others. And so this is the roadmap. So in those different sections that I went through, we have like our introduction, the first month, like a coaching call, and then the mindset kickstarter. The second month is where, you get into the intention component, third month, and so on. And then there's one-on-one sessions that go along with these. And then we also do the group sessions. So that is so powerful when we work with cohorts, because so many women, when they get together and we have conversations, it's so empowering and encouraging. And, there's nothing like, that saying, we are the average of the 5 people we hang out with. When you get a bunch of incredible women together, we're on fire. So, so those are really great. These, just to share with you some of the group coaching topics. And what we do is we customize each cohort individually. So when organizations bring us in to work with a cohort of women, we do polls and we try to figure out, what do people really care about? And so you can see some of these topics are just really interesting. One that's a huge one is choose happy. Choose happy, the psychology behind intentional perspective and how it affects us at home and at work. That's really cool. So in any case, these are just to share with you some examples. Imagine you've gone through the program, and now let's look at our results. This is an example from a client that works with a company as a director. And this is the assessment that the individuals take on the front end. They take the same assessment on the front and the back end. So this is before, this is after, this is the improvement, and this is the competency mapping. And so you can see, I mean, unbelievable improvement here. And then I'm going to show you the self-discovery wheel on the front end and the back end. And then this is the improvement that this leader found. Her career work went up dramatically. And just to share with you a little bit, this was a situation where she was feeling disempowered because of some things going on with upper management and the departments and things like that. And some of the things that we talked about was leadership is influence. We all influence other people, regardless of our title, whether we're, a manager, a janitor, a brother, a sister, a mother, sister, we all influence other people. So when we are going to try to influence other people, it's about building relationships and being empowered by evaluating, who can I talk to? Who can I go meet with? Who can I go meet with and hear what they do and how they do it and how I can add value for them and understand where they're coming from and what I do and how we can collaborate together. And I mean, it's kind of interesting to me because sometimes we can get stuck, and it's kind of like you need that voice to share, to kind of have a different perspective. So this person ended up having a lot of really great meetings with some folks that she didn't really feel like she could, and she did. And then she's in line for a promotion. And so lots of good things going on there. Her health, getting perspective there as far as prioritizing her health. That was a huge one. which ultimately helped with, mental health and purpose. So those are some of the things, and this is some of her comments. Leading self to lead others, self-care. She mentioned here choosing happy, which is imperative. When we take care of ourselves, we can take care of others. Like we can't pour from an empty cup. The whole idea is to take care of you. When you're overflowing, then you have a lot to give. And that's so important. And we can lose sight of that as, achiever women. Communication. She wants to present and collaborate. And she's saying here, like, delegate things. A lot of times too, as super, woman complex people, we like to hang on to everything because we don't think anybody else can do it as good as us. So that she's like decided to like, delegate some things. Her productivity is off the charts. She put a lot of comments. So prioritizing what's important, not urgent, meaning that when we start doing these things, life will start running more. It's kind of like that slowing down to speed up, as I mentioned earlier. When we step back and we kind of look at what's happening, we can prioritize things differently. This is just where she's talking about relationships. One of the things that she talked about was how this positively impacted her children. She has some young children, not young, like young adult children. And she felt like when they saw her taking charge of her life, it's like they started acting different. They started doing some things that they hadn't done. And so I thought that was very cool. Energy drains, identifying energy drains, energy flows where attention goes. So in any case, there's a lot of things. And like one of the things that she talked about is how she appreciated her organization investing in her. And she felt more of a more alliance to the organization, more loyalty. So those are some of the things. And then these are some other testimonials from other women. This is a manufacturing company actually that this is about a $4 billion company. And these, you can see their directors. And again, they just had really positive things. These are some women that invested in themselves that came through the program. And this lady here, she shared it with her husband and her son. So I encourage that. I tell people, when you go through the program, share it with others and help them to improve as well. So that's all of that. Does anybody have any questions yet? I'm going to share here in a second, like the next session that we're going to be starting and the investment piece. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay. So what we're planning to do is we're going to have the cutoff for registration is February 9th, and we'll be sending out welcome packages to everyone. The components of the program. So again, the whole idea here is it's executive leadership and life coaching as a holistic approach. You've got the assessment on the front and the back end, the self-discovery wheel on the front and the back end, 6 one-on-one sessions. They're 50 minutes per session, 6 groups coaching sessions. And we do this monthly. And we typically will do like the second Tuesday morning of the month. Video coaching sessions. There's micro learning with tools to keep on track. The welcome package, as I mentioned, goes out, and we provide you with journals and books and other goodies. And there is the online tools that are editable PDFs for those of you that may prefer to keep things online. And then we also send the hard copy because there's a lot of us. I know for myself, I like writing stuff. So we send that. The private community of peers is priceless, where, connecting with other female leaders so you don't feel like you're out on an island. And then we have the library of resources that I mentioned before. And so the investment is $7,500 for the 6-month program. We do have, payment options and volume discounts for corporates and payment options for individuals that we can talk about. Let's go ahead and really the next steps, what we found is to have that personal conversation and, like, see if it's a fit.